Hello, everybody. Welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Jose.
I'm Mike.
What did you think of Justice League?
I had a terrible time.
I saw.
A horrible time. It was actually so aggressively stupid and boring. At times, I was looking at you just because I wanted you to go. I wanted to know that someone else was seeing this shit. You know.
And you weren't getting that from me.
Well, I mean, you were more attentive to it. You were less. I was distracted by how stupid it was at points, and to the point where I just had to, like I say, just know that someone else was agreeing with how stupid this was. But you were paying so much attention, I thought you hadn't realised that it was really as stupid as it was. It kept your attention much more than mine.
Well, I think, because for me, these movies really are like a teen dream come true. I mean, I grew up with these comic books, and I love the comic books and so on. And so, I want to see what Aquaman is like. And I'm interested in, who's playing the Flash now and what kind of Flash it is and things like that. So, I think you're right.
Is it not a teen dream gone wrong, though?
All teen dreams go wrong.
Because I do hear people talk about, when you were growing up in the 70s and 80s and you were reading comics, if you were told that one day you would have these holistic universes of integrated film and TV and games and comics and all the rest of it, all with your characters all together all the time in these brilliantly produced things, you would have believed it and you'd have been so ecstatic. And so that it's happened and the film is disappointing.
It is very disappointing. I mean, it's really corny and it's really dumb, and some of the things are really leaden, and some of the things that are meant to be funny are not really funny at all. Like,
no, it pushes it. It makes a few jokes. It got a few mild laughs, even out of me.
Yeah, it got a few mild laughs, but
it also misses just as much as it hits in the laughter department.
Yeah, the only one who to me was interesting was Ezra
Miller. Ezra Miller as Barry Allen.
Yeah, I mean, he did the best. Watching Ben Affleck was a painful experience. He's just so wooden and leaden, and I thought he'd gotten better. Because I very much liked him in Gone Girl. Yeah.
He's a decent actor when he's got good material. I think. I don't think there's a lot of material in this.
Well, a better actor would have done more with this. Possibly. I mean, he's just like completely wooden, really inexpressive. I mean, it's like he's doing his whole performance with the level of grunting that he does, right? He has quite a deep, gravelly voice in this, and it just feels like, he's expressing, anger, disappointment, or whatever, and it's just like levels of grunting, decibels of grunting. How deep does his voice go? It's just kind of a blank, really.
Yeah.
So that was terrible. Amy Adams, Lois Lane, grated on my nerves like anything. I really loved Margot Kidder in the original films, and I just thought this was awful. And a lot of it is really what she's given to do. I think that's the problem with most of them. I think that is, like I say, also the problem with Affleck. Yeah.
For the most part, but she's clearly a better actor than Ben Affleck.
I mean,
I think she does give a better performance than Ben Affleck, but
yes,
she has nothing to do, and she's only got about 4 lines anyway.
I know, and the dialogue that she's given, a new hope, and when people blah blah blah. It was so painful.
She spends most of the film just pining for Superman. Superman died at the end of the previous one, and so is he coming back? And I miss him, and ugh.
I know, it was terrible.
And then, spoiler alert, he comes back. And a fucking scene in a cornfield where she has his hands on his chest, and isn't it nice? And I have stuff to do, and I miss you, and I like being alive.
That was also embarrassing as well, So Superman comes back from the dead, and really, that's mainly an excuse to have him with his shirt off for 20 minutes, right? And
well, it is a Zack Snyder film.
Sorry?
It is a Zack Snyder film. I mean, 300 was an excuse to have lots of men with their shirts off for an hour and a half.
I know, and I like looking at Henry Cavill.
And it's a pleasure.
Well, it normally is a pleasure for me, as you know, but I found this embarrassing, really, because it was just like kind of so obvious. There's nothing else going on in the film, so let's get him to take his clothes off, really. I found this embarrassing. And actually, particularly since the only one who doesn't really is Ben Affleck. Obviously, he's too big a star to bother to get in shape.
I think he's got too big a chest. I think if he took his top off, he'd be sexier than Superman, and that can't happen.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. Anyway, it was terrible. What did you think of the special effects?
I mean, well, there are some nice. The Flash running around with the lightning stuff is kind of nice. There was some fun. I suppose not so much special effects. It's the way he's edited at points because he moves so quickly. So the camera will. It would be like a. What's the word? What's the word for a cut where you stop the camera and move stuff and then start it again, like they used to do in the 1910s.
Stop motion?
Almost stop motion. I can't remember the name for it. But it's like the way you would do special effects when George Méliès did them.
Right.
You know, stopping the camera and then having a guy move and then starting it again and it's like he's moved across the screen. The same sort of thing they do with the Flash in this to make it look like he's quick.
Yeah.
They get some jokes out of that and things. But in terms of the CG and like the big effects, they're not terrible, but they're functional. I mean...
Well, I mean, I thought actually the production values were excellent. It's just that they were terribly conceptualized. Like, you know, to me, the whole movie looked like a 1970s heavy metal rock album, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the kind of that's the way that the villain is conceptualized. That's the music that accompanies Aquaman. Well, you know, and that busy bat insect kind of.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. The villain is called Steppenwolf, which is a band from the 70s, which is a heavy metal Canadian rock band from the 70s.
Yes.
They're Born to Be Wild. You can't have a villain called... Every time they said Steppenwolf...
But it's also a mythological character.
I don't care. It's not actually a mythological character. It's a German word. I think it means coyote. Right? And it's given to the name of this villain. But I don't think it's a mythological character. And the fact that they keep... obviously it's a previously existing character from the thing. Yes. From the comics. But the fact that every time someone says Steppenwolf, I was thinking of the band, which won't be a problem for most people because no one's heard of Steppenwolf these days. All the kids with the cheese in their eyes that go and see this don't know what Steppenwolf is. But I'm thinking, if you're not going to play Born to Be Wild in the final fight, you haven't done your job. And of course they don't. And in fact, what they do is they play heavy metal when Aquaman fights him, and it's just some rock thing. But I'm thinking, there's no amount of heavy metal that will make me think that a fucking fish man is a superhero.
Yes.
It's so disappointing, Aquaman.
You see, I read a novel called Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse when I was a teenager.
Well, I may have to take this back, but I'm reasonably sure it's not like a myth or something.
Yeah, anyway, well, I read this Hermann Hesse novel, and Steppenwolf is a poetical self-portrait of a man who felt himself to be half human and half wolf. This Faust-like and magical story, so anyway, that's what came to my mind first. Just that, you know, I remembered it as a fictional character. I couldn't quite remember from where. Obviously, this has no relation to it, or very little relation to it.
Yeah.
And he definitely looks like, you know, a combination of Hellboy and some heavy metal album or something.
There's an element of, I think it's one of the like ultimate bad guys that's going to be coming up in the Marvel films. Has like a big purple face, and I think he looks like that. And also, actually, this film ends up when they defeat him. They're left with the big horned helmet, which is the same trophy that Thor Ragnarok starts off with.
Yes,
I mean, these things have cross-pollination. There's no imagination in any of these things.
No, well, you know, certainly not in this one. I mean, I hated almost everything about it. You know, kind of. I told you in the cinema how awful I thought Batman's costume is, and you said, "Well, that's what you're worried about." You know, of all the things that are wrong with this
the film's biggest problem.
But I think it's an important thing.
I kind of liked it, to be honest. I thought he looked like a big rock man.
He looks like a tank. You know, and I just thought it was like a stupid way of dressing Batman.
How would you have dressed him?
I would have dressed him in a slinky, skin tight uniform. You know, that's kind of part of the pleasure of these things.
Affleck.
You know, why don't you put Wonder Woman in a tank? You know,
Because what? The fish should be in a tank.
no. Well, Wonder Woman's had all these different costumes. You could have, you know, she had at one point she had a skirt that went below the knee.
No, I mean that's just a fish tank joke.
Ugh.
No, I mean I think if any of the superheroes is going to convey sort of raw, beastly power, might as well be Batman. He's the one.
He looked like a robot. That was a really thick,
Oh, I don't know about
clunky costume. You know, he looked like he was wearing metal. It was very ugly. It didn't permit the actor to convey anything through movement or motion, which, you know, is part of the pleasure of watching these films. It's just a stupid design and very characteristic of the film as a whole.
Well, that's certainly true. I mean, the film has got. Well, it's something I was thinking about actually. The idea that these films are all Zack Snyder films, right? This one Zack Snyder directed as well.
Yes, he did.
It is. So he directed this one. He directed Batman vs Superman,
Which was also not.
and he directed Man of Steel.
Which was also not good.
But these are films with a kind of singular vision, whereas what Marvel are doing is going the other way and trying to get in lots of different directors, particularly trying to get in, when they can, kind of kooky directors or directors who are, you know, sort of have voices. So like they had Edgar Wright.
It worked for Thor.
They had Edgar Wright for a long time on Ant-Man, although he ended up leaving.
Yes.
Obviously, they had Taika Waititi doing Thor, and you can tell.
And you can tell, yeah.
But the thing is, you can also tell with this that this is one man's singular vision of what he thinks what he conceives of the world as being.
Well, what a clunky, dumb,
and it's
corny version it is.
Yeah.
Really. I think the film is portentous. You know, part of what was lovely about all the original Superman films is that they were just so witty and smart and, you know, and playful, right? And so there was all the other stuff going on, but, you know, kind of, they were witty, they were funny, and the romance was believable, right? This is all meant to be taking place on a higher metaphoric, iconic level. You know, everything is like so serious. And it's clunky with it, and the vision of the world is really like a dumb one.
But I do think that's if it was successful, I think it's not a bad thing to reach for the idea that this could actually really mean something, which I think is really what he's trying to do. But it is, as you say, so clunky and heavy-handed.
For films to mean something is obviously, you know, or it should be everybody's goal.
Yeah.
You know,
But especially
so I don't
compared
want to praise him for just having the same goal as everybody else. The fact
No, but what I mean is, especially compared to something like Marvel, where the idea is to just essentially be light and not really weigh upon you, and just kind of keep you going. The idea that actually your film, you're meant to be. He wants to do like a Christopher Nolan version. He wants to do like a multi-million-dollar blockbuster art movie. That's what he's trying to do.
Well,
That's what he achieved with Watchmen.
yes, okay. Well, he's far from that goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, this time around, right?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, you know, I went in as a fan, and I do think I got a lot more pleasure from you. I actually liked Jason Momoa, which I thought I couldn't believe they'd cast Jason Momoa as Aquaman because
Who is Jason Momoa? I mean, I know he's Aquaman, but who is he?
Well, all I know him from is Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Where you know, he was, I forget what the tribe is
Ronan
called.
Dex. Oh no, that's Stargate Atlantis. Khal Drogo.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, he looked to me like one of those guys who's a wrestler who's
He
become
was
an
a
actor.
Dothraki. Was it a Dothraki? Anyway, he was in Game of Thrones, and he was the lover of the Dragon Queen.
Yeah, he's a powerful warlord of the Dothraki people.
There
which
you
is
go,
just his
right?
he's a thringy thing in the Bloomdy land.
It's good. He's good in that, actually, and I like that. And he was good in this, and I didn't expect him to be because...
Well, I mean, if you're going to play a fishman with any sense of seriousness, you've really lost it, and he does it with a sense of humour.
Yeah. So I thought him and Ezra are the ones that came off best.
Yes.
Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Gal Gadot. She's wonderful to look at. But actually, she's given so many stupid lines.
Dabbing with fake praise. It sounded like you were going to... She's wonderful to look at.
Oh, well, I didn't mean it that way. You know, but I mean, what she's made to do, her backstory is stupid. You know, the spining away for Stephen. And then actually what I didn't like, that was not the case with the Wonder Woman movie, is that they make a mother of her, right? She's always the one who's concerned for the others and who's understanding, and it's such a cliched, stereotypical woman role that actually I think it undermines what the Wonder Woman film achieved.
I think the problem with the Wonder Woman film, it got lots and lots of praise, and I liked it as well. But I had a problem with it, which was what's the villain? The villain is David Thewlis, and he is kind of personified evil, ultimately, and it comes up with this interesting idea of how do you fight evil? How do you genuinely fight something that powerful and that kind of all encompassing? And actually, what the film says is you punch it. That's what one woman says in the end. Punch evil and it will go away.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't into that.
I mean, I think that's also the problem with like the whole Superman thing here, actually, because it's almost as soon as they resuscitate him and he comes back, then you just know like the game is won, really. But I also don't like the way that all of these things are filmed. I didn't like the busyness of everything, the busyness of the image all the time, you know, and you felt that that nobody was actually going to get hurt. Nobody that you had any stake in the film was ever really going to get hurt, you know, which makes the whole exercise to me also pointless.
That wasn't quite what I felt. I have felt like that in films before, and I know what you mean, but I think in this film, it wasn't the case that I didn't... I think normally when you feel like no one's going to get hurt, it's because you don't feel the reality of the situation. You don't feel that the punches are really happening. You don't, you see it as fake. Whereas in this film, most of that I thought was reasonably convincing. It was just I didn't have any stake in the people. I didn't care about the characters.
Yeah, well, I think we're saying the same thing, really,
in different ways. But I didn't care if they got hurt, rather than
I didn't care if they got hurt, but also, you know, kind of the geography of the action, kind of where things are going and how they're landing and what the effect of landing is going to be on someone, you know, it just wasn't clear.
It is muddled. And the action scenes don't have kind of compelling storylines to them, which action has to, right?
Yeah.
You have to say that actually action scenes evolve, you know? And it's not just a case of punching and then it stops. You know, they have kind of miniature storylines within them. And actually I think the best action is when it's about the characters, really. And each of these characters... So there's something about the parents, right? Which I think the film is aware of, but doesn't actually do anything with, which could be a theme. Everyone has some sort of parental issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, Superman's had historically his parents, his step-parents, looking after him. There was all the stuff with his dad in the previous film.
Yes.
And his dad shows up in a photo in this one, so it's not like the film doesn't, is ignoring that. Obviously, Batman, the whole reason that he's Batman is because his parents were killed in front of him. Gal Gadot, Diana Prince...
And her mother.
I can't remember exactly what goes on with them, but there's some relationship with them, and she ends up... I can't remember, to be honest, from Wonder Woman. But that was from Wonder Woman, and it does show up here a little bit. The Flash, his dad's in prison.
Yes.
For a crime that maybe he didn't do, but anyway, you get a couple of scenes with his dad saying, "You've got to stop coming here. You're holding back your own life." And he says, "Never say that to me again. I love you, Dad."
Oh.
Aquaman, there's one line about him not knowing his mum.
Yes.
And he's obviously kind of bitter about that, but that's a single line. And Cyborg, the Victor Stone guy, he's kept alive, essentially against his wishes, from an accident that he would have died in, by his dad, who's turned him into this thing, and he hates his life and he wants to die. So everyone has something about their parents.
Yes.
You'd think that like these kind of parental relationships would connect over them, or they would kind of make it into the action sequences in a way that's like they're fighting for something they realise. So, for instance, the Cyborg character, he realises at the end of the film, I want to live. I don't want to die. Yeah. That's the one real kind of character progression that actually matters in the whole film.
Well, actually, I think that, to be fair, I think that each character is given something. So, the Flash,
the Flash has to learn to get involved in the fight.
People, learn how to fight, get a job, right? Mature in that way. Yeah. Aquaman, has to learn to take responsibility for his realm, which he's been avoiding doing. Wonder Woman has to get over the death of the man she loved and kind of make a contribution to the world. Blah blah. But it's so banal.
But that's why I say the only one that mattered was Cyborg, because they do sort of have them, but it's the only one that I felt when he says, "I want to live." Superman says, "I like living," and he says, "So do I." It's when they're about to do the thing that could kill them.
Yes.
And break these boxes apart. That's the one where I felt, oh man, I felt that.
To me, the only people who seemed remotely real and empathetic and people that you wanted to see more of because they brought another dimension to the film was Diane Lane, right? I just love watching her.
Superhero's mum. Superman's
mom. Yeah, she's just wonderful to look at, and she's always conveying feeling in a way that's very transparent. I think she's a great actress. And the other person who I liked watching very much was actually the Flash's dad, whom I can't find.
Billy Crudup.
But that was Billy. I thought it was Billy Crudup.
I can watch Billy Crudup do anything. He's fantastic.
Yeah, and he only got like a few minutes, but he was wonderful.
Yeah, well, if that, maybe, like a minute and a half. He's in 2 scenes.
Yeah. So, anyway, a very poor show. A great disappointment.
Too many stupid lines. Like there was a point right at the start. Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, is foiling this bomb in a bank. And, these guys take over some bank in London, and it's all terroristy. And then she gets her lasso of truth. Yes. She wraps it around you, and you tell the truth. And the guy says, we're a terrorist sect from such and such. It's like, well, that's such stupid. No terrorist would actually call themselves a terrorist. They'd say, we're freedom fighters from this, that, and the other. Or we believe in this. No one would just say, I'm a terrorist. That's just writing.
Yeah.
And there's a bit later on where the cyborg guy, who's super smart and can interact with computers and stuff, he says they're talking about whether this kind of magic box can bring Superman back to life, and he says, I've run the numbers and there's a high probability we can bring it back. It's like, what numbers?
Yes.
Show me the maths. Show me the things you plugged in. I've run some numbers. Fucking stupid. And there's quite a lot of that in this. And there's all this hacking stuff. I'm just sitting down and hacking. The computer's going haywire. There's a lot of that. Really stupid movie stuff.
You were so annoyed throughout the whole film.
I got really annoyed by that because it's aggressively stupid. It's not even playing and like, the evil, the villain, there are these 3 boxes. This is what brings the characters together. There's these 3 boxes. There's and when it's like the rings, right? Lord of the Rings. Like they're all brought together and they can wreak destruction. And this guy wants to bring all these 3 boxes together because they'll combine and they will return Earth to looking like hell, which is where he comes from, and that's where he can rule. And that's fine. That's all you need. So the 3 boxes, they were split up. So the Fishmen got one. The Amazons got another, and Men got another, and he recombines them. And I can't remember what I was going to say. What was I talking about? I was talking about how stupid the thing was. Oh, that's right. So he steals the box. He finally stolen the man's box, but because the box was used to make Cyborg. They like sharing energy, so he can track it down. So he goes, okay, I'll track it down. And what the tracking down is just in the background of some scenes while other people are talking. He's there with this big holographic globe, and he's just spinning it at random, like trying to make it look like he's doing something. Like there's no methodology to what he's doing. I'm watching him going, how are you searching for this thing? You're just spinning. It really wound me up because it's not nothing, right? Like the holographic thing has been put in by CGI. Yes. They put a lot of work into this, and they've gone. So they're going. How should we do this? Well, let's just have it spin. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by it's stupid. Like it's not just that the plot and everything's stupid. It's the details. They've built a world which is stupid.
Yes, I also hated Jeremy Irons in it.
Yes.
And right from the beginning. So he appears wearing these stupid brown Doc Marten things laced up to his knees, and unshaven, and you just think, every characterization of Alfred that you've ever seen, he would never show up.
He's the butler, right?
Yeah,
he's
exactly
smart.
He's not like some kind of 70-year-old bohemian kind of ex-punk.
Like your dad's mate. No, I agree. And he's just phoning it in. I mean, that's such a nothing performance.
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't even try. But I hated the unshavenness, actually. You know, because actually the scene begins with Batman shaving.
Yeah.
You know, so you know it should be the other way around.
It needs to be John Gielgud from Arthur.
He would have been perfect.
What I do
if he wasn't dead.
Yeah. What I do like about this, and it goes along with the Marvel films as well, is I like the way that people talk about heroes and villains in casual conversation. Civilians do as well. They talk about, you know, the big green guy in, you know, in the Marvel movies, or they talk about another alien invasion coming in this one. And because I think people talk about these films as reflecting basically a post 9/11 world. And in the post 9/11 world, the real world, terrorism has become an everyday thing. Like the latest terrorist attack. Oh, there's another one in Manchester. There's one in London. There's one in wherever it is. And the way that people talk about the villains and heroes in this, I think reflects that in a way that actually I quite like. It's you know, the idea of people talk about the new normal. Yes. Right? What's become the new normal? Well, the new normal in superhero movies is that superheroes aren't weird anymore.
Yes.
You know, they just exist and they happen, and it's the same thing in real life. That the new normal is evil acts all the time. Yeah, but we've become kind of desensitized to it.
Yes, I thought the film was interesting in terms of how it started. You know, because it does show like, you know, a certain kind of chaos, right? So bank foreclosures and, you know, so it does kind of present a world in which kind of injustice rules. I thought that was interesting. Though, of course, you know, kind of by the end of the film, it kind of, it reorders everything. Order is brought to bear on everything again. And who does it? Like, you know, the multi-billionaire. Yeah. So
I bought a bank.
I bought a bank. Exactly.
I bought a bank. It's a reflex for me, he says. I really enjoyed Superman returning to life. So they bring him back to life, and he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't really remember where he is. So he just kind of becomes this kind of almost like evil robot Superman, which is just defending itself. And so there's the Flash, there's Cyborg, there's Wonder Woman, and there's
Batman.
No, Aquaman.
Yeah.
Batman shows up later because he's slow, because he only has a rope to get around. The other ones are fucking flying and running at the speed of light. And so he kind of starts to attack them, and the film makes an incredibly compelling case for how amazing Superman is and how terrible and useless all the other superheroes are, that you don't even need them. Like, they're only there to bring him back to life, and then once he's back, it's like, well, why are you even here? Because they all Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Cyborg kind of grapple with him, and he's just like holding them off really easily, and then it goes into super slow-mo mode where because the way that films do the Flash and people like is it Quicksilver in X-Men as well, they slow everything down and just show this one character moving really quickly, which is always really fun to watch. So that's how they do it in this, because this is the Flash's main skill, is he can run super fast. But what you forget about Superman is he's faster than a speeding bullet. It's just that no one ever shows Superman in that slow-mo way.
Yes.
They just show speedy stuff, but they they don't show actually from his perspective. So when they slow it all down, and you have the Flash running up to him,
that was a good moment.
Superman turns his head in slow motion to look at him, and you go, "It's like, did you ever see Sinister?"
No.
It's this film, this horror film, where this guy's like analysing frames of film, right? And there's one point where there's a frame of film in like a still on a computer screen, and as he looks away from the screen, like this guy in the frame of film turns his head, and you, the audience, you go, "Fucking hell, holy shit!" The thing just moved, and it's like that. It's like, oh my god, Superman moved in freeze frame. He's that much better than everybody else. There's no reason for these other heroes at all. Superman is just so much better.
Yes, I actually thought that, to me that was a problem. I mean, there should have been more of a threat to Superman. You know, because Superman in the comic books is vulnerable to all kinds of things, right? There's kryptonite lying around everywhere, and there's red kryptonite and green kryptonite and, you know, all kinds of colors of kryptonite that all have different effects on him. I think it would have been good, you know, to make him more vulnerable so that the team aspect of the Justice League is brought forward more. Because, like you say, as soon as Superman appears, like, the others might as well not be there, really. You know, they're made to seem useless. which really shouldn't have been the case.
If it's meant to be a team film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but like I say, on the other hand, it made Superman for the first time really feel that much more powerful.
yes.
Like, because Superman really is. The whole point is he's totally unbeatable.
Yes.
And this is a film where I went, oh, I believe it now. I really felt Superman was that powerful. It's just unfortunate that they're trying to make it a useful team, and it's not.
Yes.
Because it only needs Superman.
Yes. Anyway, it was interesting as well because I think the cinema was almost all full, really.
Yeah.
You know,
Saturday night.
On a Saturday night, we had to sit in the second row because there's all the other seats further back were entirely sold out. And there's going to be a lot of people disappointed tonight.
Well, I mean, people are stupid though. People are stupid. They'll accept anything. How many people in that audience do you think know who Steppenwolf is? How many people would you think were unable to take the villain seriously because when they heard Steppenwolf, they thought of Born to Be Wild? Because that's my whole thing. I could not get that out of my head. Whenever someone says Steppenwolf, I thought that's a silly name because it's the name of a rock band.
Well, but I think you might be unique in thinking.
Exactly, that's the thing. Most of these people, they don't know any of that shit. They'll just buy it. They'll just go, oh, it's fine.
I don't know. The audience reaction in the cinema wasn't so hot.
No, that's true. There were mild laughs.
They were mild,
and that's about it. But
but
hopefully
with
they
a cinema
didn't.
that full, a film that worked, it would have been rocking.
Hopefully they did all think it was terrible.
Yes. Well, we'll see the numbers at the end.
Because it was terrible.
Yes, it was terrible.
And I was having an awful time.
On that note, we better leave it. How awful was your... No, let's leave it.